Welcome to Intro to Blockchain and Cryptocurrencies. I'm Dr. Michael Tabone. This is BLCN 531, and I'd like to go over some of the basics introduction to this class. You should see an intro from me in the announcement section, so go check that out. It should be the very first welcome video. That'll give you a little bit about myself. Important things of this entire class is that I always do announcements on Monday. They'll automatically get emailed to you, but make sure you check the announcements all the time. Read them. They're usually very important. Wink, wink. And they'll make sure that you stay on track for the entire course. Right here, you'll see that the professor is not up to date for grading. I have a week to grade your assignments. I will try to grade them as fast as I possibly can and give you feedback so you can adopt to the requirements for the class. But make sure you check this all the time. Make sure I'm not late. Keep me honest, I keep you honest. So here's the introduction video you should watch. It's right there on the bottom. Please watch it. You know what I mean? Get a little introduction to myself and what I'm looking for in this course. So the content here, one of the things that's important you might ask yourself is the course materials, and one of them is this book called Mastering Blockchain. Easy way to get it, super easy, barely an inconvenience. You go to the WHO, the library resources right here on the corner of your screen there. You click that, boom. You come in here and you type in Mastering Blockchain, and then you hit search. Boom. You click on this. Boom. You click, it should be this thing right here, right? Click on full text availability. Boom. Now you could read it online if you want to right here like it is, or you can hit this full PDF text, or you can hit the EPUB text, doesn't matter. Let's say you went like that. It's going to come here. You go to this top right here on the screen and you hit full download. Download this entire page. I'm sorry, the entire book. And you can either do it in two different ways. It'll tell you if you want to get it for the mobile version or PDF for your desktop. Either one, download it, save it, read it, respond to it. You're going to be perfectly set up for this class if you do. Now, there are assignments. I'm going to go to these. This is not really, you're seeing some of the how the sausage is made stuff in Blackboard. So you're seeing some of my screen, but it's no big deal. I haven't graded anything or graded anybody. So this is my grades if I were to take this class. And I just want to walk you through. Discussion posts, APA 7, and backing up your arguments is like the most important thing in this class that you can do. Make sure you follow APA 7, which is the current guidelines. Make sure you follow those to the T on your in-text citations and your references. Put those in the discussion posts. It's very important. I have a PhD. If I were to make arguments publicly and arguments don't mean that we're yelling at each other. An argument means you make a position. If you have a position on something, you should be backing it up with facts and figures and something in real life or in a study done by an academic that you could find through the library resources tab, or an industry report. It's not a blog or some YouTube guy who had some video that he woke up in the middle of his mom's basement and decided to do. Research done by things like Cointelegraph, Bitcoin Magazine, Blockworks, CoinDesk, some of these kind of periodicals and journalism that's supposed to be to a higher standard, not some random blog artists. Now, one of the coolest things about the information technology age and the information age is that people can now have their own voice on the internet. But one of the problems is that everyone has their voice on the internet and everyone is assumed to be equal. You got to have the facts and figures, right? If everyone was assumed to be equal, we would assume that automatically that quantum computing is automatically going to destroy Bitcoin today in 2024. This would be relevant in 2025, 2026. While quantum computing will make Bitcoin have to make a change, it's not going to be immediate. So the FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that out there in the world is usually run by people that have no idea what they're talking about. You don't want to be one of those people that fall for those kind of scams. Go by industry reports, industry standards, industry everything else, as well as what you might find academically. If those same people understood quantum computing and where we are in the process, they would maybe not be as fearful. Anyway, back upon the ranch. So a discussion post, very important that we go back and forth with each other in factual researched arguments. So that way you're presenting your best case, they're presenting their best case, and we all can learn from each other. based on the actual information and not just pretend, oh, this is my opinion. I think that transactions per second are better. And then someone comes out and says, hey, but the chain that you just mentioned uses a weird way of calculating transactions per second. So it's kind of like inflating it. That's a cool conversation back and forth. Just saying that, no, Bitcoin's outdated because of transactions per second or something like that. Why are you saying this? And why do you think that something else could even replace it? Based on what? Your opinion? Okay, great. We all have opinions. What's based on what set of documental facts? That's what we care about. Next, journal articles. You do not have to give me APA citations for journal articles. You do please do not put in a document into journal articles. Just write them in the space provided. Don't upload a document. Imagine if you had 28 students and 3 classes and all that kind of stuff, and in every journal article, everyone uploaded a paper that you had to save to your desktop and then open. It's a nightmare. Just put the text in the journal article. It's informal between you and me and the journal article. Just follow the directions. You don't have to be formal. You're not talking to anybody else but me and you. Just have a conversation in a journal like you would, like you're writing to yourself, but you're really writing to me. But so be somewhat academic and correct, but you don't have to be citations and all that kind of stuff. Follow the directions, you'll be fine. Discussion posts again. Papers. APA 7 formatting for citations and stuff. You'll notice the papers, the template for the paper, especially the first one and the second one, are single spaced, and they're not exactly APA. Follow everything as APA as possible for what we're talking about when we talk about indentations, when we're talking about references and stuff. The last paper will be fully APA 7, so double spaced, 10 to 12 pages, all that kind of fun stuff, references, everything's got to be APA 7. If you need an APA 7 thing, I will give it to you, and I think I'll put it in the announcements for week 1, a template, and I will, of course, give you the link to an APA 7 guide, like I do all the time. By the way, I always have my email available. I always put my email up, michael.tabone@ucumberlands.edu. If you ever have a problem, just email me. Don't wait until week 8 to email me about a problem. Email me immediately. I will respond to you as soon as I possibly can. That's what my job is. Do not wait until the last day or after I've already put grades in to email me. Email me as soon as possible. We'll work through something. If you have a problem that comes up in your personal life, house burnt down, lightning struck you, something, email me immediately. Don't wait until 5 weeks go by, and then you go, oh, by the way, I had bird flu, and that's what. Well, email me as soon as you can, and we can work something out. Do not wait. Waiting is not looked favorably, put it that way. So, discussion posts, journal articles. Let's see what else is here. The last paper is worth 200 points. It's considerable. So don't skip out on the final position paper. Very important. You're going to get the directions for the final position paper in week 4. So you'll have 4 weeks to be able to complete it. Believe me, that should be enough time for you to do the assignment. And it should be good. It should be a learning experience for everybody. Again, that's going to be APA 7. Very important. You follow those directions. Real quick. So now we're gonna transition into the content for week 1, which is Introduction to Blockchain. So the first thing you're going to read is the Bitcoin white paper. It's 9 pages long. It's not going to kill you. Yes, there's some math and some things that are in there that might be over your head, and that's fine. Don't be injured by that or dismayed by that. It's fine. This is the white paper right here. I have it on my wall to my right at all times. No matter what my decorations might change, that'll stay there no matter what. And I think the Bitcoin with the chess pieces has been my hallmark for the last 3 years or 4 years so far. So I think that's gonna stay. Anyway, point is the Bitcoin white paper, very important. It's very short, but it gives you the idea of why and what went into creating things. By the way, not here and not required for the class. There's a great book which I recommend everybody read, which is called Inventing Bitcoin by Jan Pritzker, and this is really short, as you can see, but it goes through why each one of the things um, in the creation of Bitcoin, why things failed on the way to Bitcoin, and why Bitcoin is more than a discovery, it's an invention. Things were discovered along the way, and then Bitcoin was an invention because it was a whole bunch of discoveries that without each other could not work. So I recommend this book. Not necessary for the class, but it's cheap, really. It's inexpensive. It's short. See, small. You like, guys? I know you guys don't like to read the big books. Small, great book, and I have like 5 copies that float around to wherever I go, wherever apartment or house or thing I'm at. That book is always with me. It's very useful. Mastering Blockchain is going to be one of the biggest things, and of course, the Blockchain Revolution by Tapscott and Tapscott, great book. Same thing with Bashir's book, very good. Okay, so this is the introduction video. This will be right here. Read all of this now. Some of you might have already had me in a course or two, and my take on everything is I believe I'm a Bitcoin Maxi Plus. What does the Bitcoin Maxi Plus mean? What that theory means? You might have heard of Bitcoin maximalism. It means people believe that Bitcoin is the only thing that matters in the whole entire world, and there is no other blockchain or cryptocurrency that could ever match it, beat it, do anything with it, be even everything else is a scam or security or something like that. I basically agree, but I also am not blind. So one of the people that are huge into Bitcoin is this guy Michael Saylor, and I'm a big fan of Michael Saylor. And full disclosure, I own MicroStrategy stock. So the reason why one of Michael Saylor's analogies is the fact that titanium is an awesome aerospace metal, and so why would you use aluminum when titanium is better? Why would you use steel when titanium is better? And he's 100% right. I'm an aerospace engineer by trade in the past life, and 1,000%. You use titanium. Matter of fact, I was the manufacturing engineer in the titanium line of helicopter blades, so I'm well aware of this analogy. However, I would be blind to the fact that titanium is not used in the medical world, right? For putting pins into people and putting artificial hips and all sort of kind of stuff. So I would be negligent, ignorant, willfully ignorant to not assume that we're going to use titanium in other places in the world. Well, I'm a Bitcoin Maxi Plus. I believe that Bitcoin is the only thing that matters, and so does everything else. Blockchain technology can be utilized in a whole host of different ways, and I also understand that nothing really could ever take the place of Bitcoin unless it traveled back in time and started before January 3rd, 2009. The reason why is because Bitcoin is the most decentralized. There's so many other arguments that you're going to read in this week's thing. That doesn't discount the fact that there can be innovation outside of Bitcoin. And a matter of fact, the early Bitcoin people, the early cypherpunks and everything else that were on the Bitcoin talk things, were talking about, hey, well, we don't want to screw up the main chain, if you want to call it the sacred chain, some people do. You don't want to mess up the main chain, so what you do is you go out and you find, you make your own side chain. It's actually not a side chain. You actually make your own blockchain separate than Bitcoin. And what you do is you try to do your improvement on that. And if you don't screw it up, maybe we'll incorporate that into the Bitcoin code, so that way we don't actually screw up the most important thing. So a good example of this is Litecoin, which was a fork of Bitcoin. And what Litecoin did is Bitcoin has a maximum supply of 21 million. Litecoin has a supply of 88 million, right? So it went up by a factor. Huge. And the whole idea of Litecoin's concept is that it's smaller, it's lighter than Bitcoin, it's faster, and they had all these improvements that they put into it, including one recently called Mimblewimble, which makes Litecoin more fungible, and it makes privacy way higher. Well, now that Litecoin's been going on for a long time, it's dependable. It's all these things. It just doesn't have adoption, right? Nothing has adoption like Bitcoin. So could Bitcoin potentially adopt Mimblewimble into its code? Yes, possible. There are things called zero knowledge proofs, ZK proofs, which Bitcoin might do. And Satoshi knew about zero knowledge proofs back in the day. There we have his own emails and writings on zero knowledge proofs. He was aware of it. He could not implement it at the time. We might be able to implement it now, which would be awesome. So there are improvements that can happen to Bitcoin through its code and through, as long as there's consensus with the miners, the node operators, and the holders, we can actually upgrade the code. I don't want to experiment with Bitcoin. I want to put the things I know will work into Bitcoin. I don't want to screw anything up. And now we have such an infrastructure around the whole entire world, trillions of dollars. We have BlackRocks and Vanguards and Fidelities and everything else putting ETFs and retirement funds, and soon we might even have nation states, more than El Salvador. We might have, I don't know, the time of recording this, we're in the air. We don't know, but it might be some huge states, maybe even first world states, that start to create strategic reserves of Bitcoin. I don't want to screw any of that up with changing the code to some highfalutin idea. We want to do these tests with things that are outside of Bitcoin, which is cool. Bitcoin also, I don't believe, should be used for everything. I don't want to put my car note on Bitcoin. I don't necessarily want to put my kids' art on Bitcoin. I don't necessarily want to put my property, my car note, my deed to my house, or whatever it happens to be. I don't think it needs all to be living on Bitcoin. It could, I guess. You do a side chain, you can do a drive chain. All of these things create you can create a side chain, you can create a drive chain. All of these create a harder and, I don't also necessarily think that everything needs to live on Bitcoin. Things can live on Ethereum, things can live on secondary chains that don't necessarily have to clog up the Bitcoin ecosystem. Like, I'm not personally a big fan of ordinals because I don't believe that it's a good idea to clog up the greatest monetary asset of all time. I also don't think that everything should be on the Bitcoin blockchain. I don't think that art necessarily should be on the Bitcoin blockchain. It's the greatest monetary network that's ever been existed, the hardest money, all that kind of stuff. I do not need pictures of, frogs and stuff on there. So I believe you just leave that alone and you let other chains do that for you, and that might have a better job doing it with smart contracts, all that kind of stuff. So to me, Bitcoin, a numero number one. Nothing can ever beat it, replace it. It's not technologically in advanced. All of this is the idea that it's doing something that it's not supposed to be doing. Is it in advanced for automatic ticket sales from Ticketmaster at the door to be able to get in and go to seat 11A to go see, some band. Yeah, but it wasn't designed for that. And you'll read in the peer-to-peer electronic cash system from Satoshi Nakamoto, this is what it was designed to do. The questions I have for you are this, and you don't have to answer them to me, but I'd like to keep this in your mind. Bitcoin, as you read in the Bitcoin white paper, was designed to be a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, and somehow it has transformed into a store of value. Why is this important? All money, from the beginning of time, is because society sees it to have a value outside of just what it is. So in other words, money all started back in the day because it was a third-party medium of exchange, right? A third party was going to want this. So even though I don't want this, somebody else is going to want it. Why is somebody else going to want Bitcoin? Back in the day, it was because, hey, I like this cypherpunk movement and all this stuff, so I'm going to accept Bitcoin. But my mom probably won't accept Bitcoin. But when Bitcoin has now what's called the store of value, I can now go to Joe Schmo and say, listen, I don't have any cash, I don't have this, but hey, I have Bitcoin, will you take it? They might, not because they like Bitcoin, but because Billy down the street likes Bitcoin. And because Mary down the street likes Bitcoin, he takes it. So that store of value is necessary to be able to go from here to the next step, which is a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Coinbase has these commercials out now, and I don't know when you're going to see this, but Coinbase has these commercials out now which says, Joe wasn't a crypto person. But Joe realizes that other people are utilizing it, and another person will take it as a medium of exchange, and that's why it'll become a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. The question is, how does it get to where its current stage is now, to the next stage where it is that peer-to-peer electronic cash system? How did Bitcoin impact the other generations? There are right now 4 generations of blockchains. Generation 1, which is what you would call Bitcoin, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency. The other ones before it, you can't count them because they were not viable. B Money, eCash, all of these things that you should read, and they're all pointed out here in the Introducing Bitcoin book, and I think they're pointed out in Bashir's book as well. All of these steps, all the way up, all failed because they were missing a vital component one way or the other. And Satoshi understood this, put this together, and the Satoshi team. But that's a whole other story. We're not going to get into that. So it's important that we realize that all of these things went together to create Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is supposed to be a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. How do we actually become an electronic cash system? And this is the argument between the big blockers and the small blockers. And this is what happened with Bitcoin Cash in 2017, right? With a breakaway, Bitcoin Cash wanted to keep the blocks big and large and huge and big, so that way the fees were small and all this stuff. The problem is that they created a fork. No one knew which way to go, and everyone decided that we were going to stay with Bitcoin Core for the most part. And there's books written on this, Hijacking Bitcoin and the Block Wars. These are great books to read for the history of Bitcoin, to understand the nuances here. And I am, of course, well, I should say of course, but I'm on the side of Bitcoin Core for the most part. But I do believe that it is, because I don't believe that when we were talking about that, we had enough adoption in the world to make it an actual peer-to-peer electronic cash system. I believe now that we've created a store of value that has it, so that way my mom will take Bitcoin and be like, Michael, can you just give me the amount of cash for this? Yeah, no problem. Because it's third, because that's what you need. You don't need a barter system. Seashells, wheat, salt, this kind of thing. We're getting to the point where you have a currency. By the way, governments do not create money. Society decides what money is. All government can do is tell you what currency is legal, and then put a gun in your face and tell you, this is the currency you need to give me to pay your taxes. Or taxes, by the way, you go to jail if you don't pay them, right? Non-voluntary. So anyway, the point is that that's what a government can do. Tell you what you need to pay them for the right to live in the country that you're in. That's not money. That's a currency. Money is what society decides. We know this for a fact because if we look back into the history of monetary policy and monetary understanding, as an economist, this is very simple. There's a really great story out of England. There was one king that had a huge nose, right? And he took all of the old gold coins and he brought them in to get them resmelt and redone with his face. But he had a huge nose. But he also had this idea, hey, while we're bringing them in to make it look like my likeness, what we're going to do with the gold is we're going to put a little bit of copper on the inside. So we devalue the gold, but no one will know, he thought. And that way we can get more gold coins out of this. Well, as soon as this went into circulation, he had a huge nose. And the nose would rub up against everyone's pockets and rub up against everybody's other coins and everything else. And soon his nose, right? Get the smiley face correct. Soon his nose was copper and everything else was gold. And they knew. They called him, I forgot, King Copper-Nose, or King whatever his name is. And the point was that you knew that he was debasing the that. And so people stopped taking it. People started valuing it way less. Society values things. Governments can only dictate what you have to pay them. But people decide what is valuable. People decide that gold is valuable over time because it has intrinsic properties. Nothing has intrinsic value. It has intrinsic properties that are very valuable. It can be, it's soft for jewelry. It can be utilized in electronics, all that kind of stuff. That's why people value gold. But value is subjective. It goes up and down all the time. Okay? As soon as something better came along, Bitcoin, there are people that are the hard money people that are split, that kind of fork themselves into this idea between the gold camp I need to physically hold it, and the Bitcoin camp, which is I can verify it on the blockchain. And these camps are now fighting each other. But the underlying have the same argument, but they argue with each other all the time, which I think is hilarious. But the point is that how does it become that next level? Peer-to-peer electronic cash system. We're going to find out together. Hopefully it can get there very soon. Hopefully it can overcome some of the issues that it will have eventually, because all things are in cryptography are an arms race with how to break that cryptography. So eventually quantum computing will be a problem, no doubt about it. But how does Bitcoin actually overcome that? It's not like Bitcoiners don't understand that QC is there. These people there have a big Venn diagram of each other. Bitcoin people and Q people working on QC are the same people. So this isn't that big of a deal. It's simply an upgrade to the code. How we get there, I don't know. When we get there, I don't know. Do we have some time at the moment? I'm recording this in December 2024, at the end of the year. Do we have time to overcome this? Yes, we do. So I think we'll be okay. Again, we're going to see, but we have time for all of this. Are you going to be part of that getting to the next level? You could be. The whole idea of this program is to have you become the next generation of blockchain professionals, which I think, having taught in this program for long enough, I believe that there's some great people that are going to go through this program and make some great things happen in the blockchain and cryptocurrency industry. So hope you're one of them. So read up on Bitcoin, understand Bitcoin. If you have any questions about Bitcoin or whatever happens to be, my email, michael.tabone@ucumberlands.edu. Reach out, send me an email, we'll talk. I will, of course, be posting things about Bitcoin and about cryptocurrencies and extra stuff. Extra reports, you don't have to read them necessarily. You could. They're industry reports. Go by industry reports and not somebody's silly blog on the internet or somebody's video on YouTube that they're trying to push some kind of meme coin that they're going to dump on you in a heartbeat. Follow the smart things. And the only thing I ask you is do not ask me what you should be buying. I cannot tell you. It's not financial advice, NFA. And if you do ask me, the absolute one thing I will tell you that you should run out today and buy is